So I'd always been fascinated by the country of Russia. It looked so cool on a map. So when I was 23, I decided to take a solo grad trip there. I was going to start in Moscow, go through Siberia, all the way to Mongolia. The first couple of days in Moscow went well. I hit on some Russian women unsuccessfully. But the last day, I had a train to Siberia at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was the last train for 3 whole days. But I didn't want to waste the whole day just sitting around, so I decided to go to the Space Museum in the morning. The Space Museum was unmemorable, but coming out of it, I found a cab driver. I showed him the address to my hostel. He took one look at it and nodded, and then we were off. The first 10 minutes went great. We had plenty of time. I was feeling good. And then I started looking around. I realized I didn't quite recognize where we were. It didn't look very familiar. Another 10 minutes go by. My back starts to stiffen. I start to get a little worried now. Another 5 minutes go by. I decide to show the driver the address again. He starts speaking in Russian. What am I going to do? I wasn't sure. Now my butt is sweating. Another 5 minutes go by. This is bad. I think I'm in deep shit now. So I show him the address again. This time he starts screaming at me in Russian. And then I know it's time to get out. So at the stoplight, I hustle out of the car, throw him some cash, and he starts screaming at me before honking and driving off. And then I look around. I'm in suburban Moscow. I don't recognize anything. There's a bunch of old drabby apartment buildings from the Soviet age, and I don't know anything that is going on. I start screaming, cussing, speaking in English. Everyone's looking at me like I'm a chicken with my head cut off. I don't know what to do. And then I run into a woman. She happens to speak English. She asks me what happened. I tell her I'm lost. I tell her I'm going to miss my train. I tell her my trip is ruined. And she says, let me call you a cab, but make sure he speaks English. So I meet the English cab driver. I show him the address and he says, yes, I understand in English. So we're driving now. And now I realize I'm in trouble. I don't have time to get back to my hostel to pick up my stuff and then make it to the train station. It's one or the other. I have to make a choice. And I decide to go to the train station and skip getting all my stuff. All I have is one pair of clothes on me. I have my passport. I don't even have my phone charger. So I hustle to the train. I make it with minutes to spare. I'm heavily breathing. I'm hyperventilating. And I run into 6 Russian tourists in my train compartment. They don't speak a lick of English. But as we keep gesturing, talking, they finally understand that I don't have any clothes. And they give me a KGB uniform or a camo that makes me look like I'm in the KGB. So as we keep going, we're drinking vodka shots now. I realize, what about my stuff? How am I going to recover this stuff? So I call my hostel. I explain the situation. I have a Russian helper translating, and can you ship me the stuff to Siberia, to my hotel? And they're like, maybe, we don't really do that. That's not really something in our capability, but we can see, just this once. So they send me this sketchy third-party payment app that looks like a cyber hacker built it on his lunch break. And so at this point, I'm like, what, do I really pay this? They're charging me a little bit of an exorbitant fee. I'm not sure, but I need the stuff. So I decide to pay it. My Russian helper, again, is a translator. So I pay the thing and then I get to Siberia. And I think there's no way in Earth my stuff is going to be there. I don't believe it for a second. But at the same time, I felt so at home with my Russian tourist friends. The 5 days we spent together traversing Siberia, getting super drunk, having great conversations. It was the highlight of my whole trip. They even found me a toothbrush. So there was no showers though, but a toothbrush was good enough. But so we get to Siberia. I think there is no way the stuff is going to be there. So I check into my hotel and they actually say something is upstairs. So I go look upstairs and what do I see but 2 perfectly open boxes. Everything is laid out. The hotel is helped. And now I have all my stuff. And the rest of my trip went great. So I learned 3 things from this experience. The first thing I learned is don't try to do too much shit in one day. The second thing I learned is most strangers are actually pretty cool. and they will offer you free drinks and a toothbrush. And the third thing I learned is if a Russian hostel offers you a sketchy third-party payment app to pay, it might be legit. Thank you, guys.